Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies and the surroundings of our North London allotment. You join me here today on what's been quite a warm afternoon actually, a little bit grey, but the heat and the bit of rain we've had in the last week or so has really meant things have shot up. I mean, you'll see the broad beans behind me here and the onions on the other side of me here have both shot up, but you know, as they do, so do all the weeds in the grass. So spent the afternoon sort of hacking that lot back and doing quite some significant weeding, to be honest. But while that's all very interesting, I'm sure you didn't tune in to hear about that. You tuned in to hear about whiskey, of course. And what is the whiskey today, I hear you ask? Well, it's from a very famous name, and but with a little twist actually. So this is the Chivas Regal Extra, 13 years old, and it's the Tequila Cask selection. So this is now part of a series, a permanent product, and part of a series where they're taking the classic Chivas Regal blend, which, you know, the regular one comes out at 12 years old, but there's other ages and expressions as well. But they're taking that and then they're popping it into a different type of cask for a short period of time. And in this case, it's the Tequila Cask. So these are Tequila casks which have been sourced by Sandy Hislop, who's the master blender for Chivas Regal. And he's gone over to Mexico, the Jalisco region in Mexico, where tequila is made, and sourced these casks. And then finished the Chivas Regal blend in these casks. So this is, as you see, bottled at 13 years of age. It's also bottled at 40% ABV. It should cost you around 30, maybe 35 pounds. You certainly can. I got this actually for 25 pounds, so you can find it on you know, pretty good deals actually. And in the sort of major supermarkets in the UK, you know, you go to one of your big local supermarkets and you'll be able to find it. But before we move on, I'll tell you a little bit about Chivas Regal and how it came to be. So the whiskey blending company Chivas Brothers was set up by John and James Chivas in the early 1800s, and they were based in Aberdeen, and so right up in the north of Scotland, the city of Aberdeen. And much like a lot of the other famous blends, they came out of a grocery store. So John and James Chivas owned this grocery store in Aberdeen, and they were basically blending things that were coming from all over the British Empire. So you know, things like tea, coffee, spices, etc. And much like their contemporaries, so people like John Walker down in Kilmarnock, you had Arthur Bell, had a shop in Perth in the Southern Highlands, and George Ballantyne, who had his grocery shop in Edinburgh. They were basically all doing the same thing, and they started then blending whiskies from around their local area. And of course, if you think of Aberdeen, that meant that John and James Chivas had this plethora of distilleries, because you had some sort of in Aberdeenshire itself, but also it wasn't too far to get to Speyside, where of course there's lots, you know, over 50 of the 145 distilleries making whiskey in Scotland are in Speyside. So Chivas Regal came about in the late Victorian era, when a royal warrant was actually issued to the Chivas Brothers. It was awarded by Queen Victoria, and of course, you know, again quite close to Aberdeen is Balmoral Castle, where Queen Victoria and you know, the modern British royal family, they stay sort of over summer. So she awarded the royal warrant, and to celebrate that, Chivas Brothers started bottling Chivas Regal. So that's a little bit of history. It's now one of the biggest selling blended whiskies in the world, one of the biggest selling Scotch whiskies in the world. It's third, I believe it's third to Johnny Walker, first place by miles, and then Ballantyne's, which is also made by Chivas Brothers, in second place, and then Chivas Regal in third. So I think without further ado we should probably have a little taste, shouldn't we? So very exciting. I did use this for a tasting, so and it went down very well with the people at my tasting. There we are. Just put the lid back on. So let's have a smell and a taste. So to start with, it's quite sweet, quite rich. You've got like a vanilla toffee. There's a golden syrup in there. But there's also something quite citrusy in there as well. There's a bit of sort of lemon zest, maybe even something a bit more unusual like grapefruit zest in there. Yeah, very interesting. Let's have a taste. So it's very soft. That's the first thing. It's soft, sweet, quite luscious, quite rich. There's some sultana in there. There's something quite tropical actually, like I want to say like caramelized barbecue sort of pineapple. And when you put pineapple on the barbecue and you get the griddle marks and get that caramelization of the natural sugars. It's something like that, very nice. This sort of vanilla fudge and golden syrup again. Yeah, very, very nice. And yeah, let's have another taste actually. It's very moorish, so you know, not difficult to have another sip, to be honest. Yeah, so with this second taste, you're still getting all that sweetness and richness. But what I am also getting now is this citrusy note that we spotted on the nose. So it's definitely a bit more confected now actually. It's reminding me very much of candied grapefruit, maybe a bit of candied orange as well. So a bit less of the sort of zestiness that we had on the nose. And then there's some lovely, yeah, sort of vanilla fudge again, a bit of toffee maybe, but rounded off with this sort of quite peppery spiciness actually, which you get from, you know, good tequila. Has this sort of roasted, earthy, peppery quality, and this has this sort of in the background. It's not sort of big, bold and obvious influenced by tequila, and I think that's why I quite like it, because it could dominate. And I guess this is why it was only very recently that the SWA, the Scotch Whisky Association, actually changed the rules to allow types of casks like tequila casks to be used to mature Scotch whisky, because before that it had literally been the traditional like bourbon and sherry casks. But yeah, just sort of literally a sort of number of years ago, just a few years ago, they changed the rules to allow people to use other types of wine or fortified wine, beer casks and other types of spirits. So you're starting to see a lot more products like this where you're using tequila or mezcal or rum or you know, cognac or armagnac casks. So these other types of spirits. So yeah, very, very interesting. And it's also very interesting to see a big brand like Chivas Regal really sort of going for it and experimenting a bit with this. So yeah, delightful whiskey actually. And for the price, you know, 30, I mean, the most I saw it for was 35, and as I say, the cheapest I saw it for was 25. So yeah, average it around 30. You know, it's a very nice whiskey. So I think that's about it. So from myself and the Chivas Regal Extra 13 years old Tequila Cask selection, we will bid you farewell. We'll let you get on with whatever you're doing before you found this video, and we hope to see you again for another Allotment Dram very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.